Good evening and welcome back to the Blue Seahorse. This is our part 2 of repairing broken adults. As we left you the last show, we were just starting to talk about children as they were growing up for adults. So I thought tonight we would talk a little bit about these adults that come into the Blue Seahorse, either with anger management problems, substance abuse, battery, whatever they're coming in for. And through our discussion with these adults, we often find times that they come from broken families themselves, they come from abuse, they come from parents or both parents that were either alcoholics themselves or drank a lot. They might tell you, well, I don't think they were alcoholics, they just drank all the time. And so this goes back to the children. They're doing the same thing they saw their parents doing today. So that's why we talk about the broken adults. These children are there. These children are seeing their parents do this. And they're modeling what their parents are doing. And so I thought we'd talk a little bit about that tonight and, wherever else it might go as our conversation develops. But I know from my experience, just with a few of the clients I saw, that many of them do have that abusive behavior. Many of them only to this day, even as adults, they may not see one or the other of their parents. They've kind of sort of gotten beyond that. They've had some kind of fallout or whatever with their parents. And then them themselves are now parents, and they're in the legal system where their parents were when they were younger.
Yeah, and it's always so repetitive. I know when we were kids, we used to cook with my mom, so we did a lot of cooking with her. But just like that, with the drinking or any kind of behavior, you're going to adapt to that. And I've seen it a lot, like you said in our counseling, that, kids, that the wife was abused. Mm-hmm. The mom was. So then, they come that way. So it's a learned behavior from when they're kids, most of it.
Now I've coined a phrase that I call it environmental situational learning. And when children are young, and there's some statistics out there that say by the time a child, boy or girl, is 9 or 10 years old, they know everything they need to know how to interact as adults with adults. And you gotta be careful how you say that, because it's as adults with adults. They watch their mom interact with their dad. They watch their dad interact with their mom, dad with the neighbors, dad with his brothers or sisters or whoever he's got. They watch adults interact with adults. Now as they grow, they get smarter, they go to school, they go to college, they get all kinds of stuff. But what they've learned how to interact as an adult with an adult, they've already learned all that.
Right.
Now that doesn't mean they're going to grow up bad. It just means they've learned that behavior. If mom and dad are a loving couple and respectful and courteous and kind in the home, that's what will become. And I'll follow that up here in just a minute. But when a young person, boy or girl, sees dad hit mom, and that's how he sees an adult treat a woman.
Right.
And when he grows up, he's a nice kid growing up. And how many times have you heard, either on TV or on different shows or even with our clients, that the girls will say, well, he was really nice while we were dating. He was really nice when we got engaged. But after we got married, something happened. He changed. And nobody knows why. Or she doesn't know why, and he doesn't know why. But he did. And I say that is because he learned how to act and see how to act as a father and a husband. Now, he won't act like that until he becomes a father or a husband. Because other people don't act like that. Only fathers and husbands do.
Right.
So when he becomes a father and a husband, or just a husband, it doesn't matter, he can then do the things that his dad did in that situation. So when I come home from work and my food's not ready, I'm now the husband. I can now hit the wife because that's what my dad did.
Right.
I wouldn't do that if it was a boyfriend-girlfriend, but I'll do it as a husband to a wife. Now the sad part about that is they wonder why their wives get upset and maybe leave them when they saw their mother stay. Now I'm married to you, so I should be able to hit you, and you should take it. And they believe that. They understand that in their head because that's what they grew up with. You fancy anybody today, you, me, spending 9 to 10 years watching and learning a behavior. That's a long time.
It's a long time.
Very long time. And you're not going to act like that until you learn, I'm in that spot. I'm now in a position to behave like that. A lot of them even forget about it until they become husbands. Then they get mad when their wives leave. Well, you're supposed to take it. My mother took it. Now, the other side of that coin, too, is the young girls growing up. They see their mother taking it and staying there. They don't take it as girlfriends. You know, you hit me, buddy, and I'm gone.
All right.
13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, I'm gone. You don't touch me. You don't hit me in anger. But when they become a wife, wives get hit.
And they think they have to stay.
And they think they have to stay because their mother got hit and stayed and endured it. And it was a sign of a relationship that only one that they understand, husband and wives, from watching their mom and dads, they understand that that's what a relationship is. So they stay and get abused and get abused and get hurt, and some get killed. There's some horrible numbers out there of the amount of women who are killed in a domestic, intimate relationship daily in this country. It's like hundreds and thousands, I don't know how many, hundreds of women a day are killed throughout the United States.
Because they were trained.
Because they stayed in abusive relationships. And we talk about broken adults. Those are broken adults.
Broken adults.
Huge. And how do we address that? How do we make that successful? How do we get to the people out there besides this show? And I hope this show gets viewed, and I hope we get calls, because I do speak at different seminars in different places on this, and it gets pretty well received. But only until that thought process of watching 9 or 10 years old grow up to who they become gets addressed, it's not going to change.
No.
It's not going to change at all. And that's frightening for me, especially at the age I'm at right now, hoping the younger counselors come along, understand that, and can put more thought into it. Because it's a real serious thing, and we talk about it all the time. And we only do the best we can. You know, we get court ordered. Almost all of our clients are court ordered. So they come through the legal system. And some of them have gone through and come through, and we read their reports and their court orders and how many times they've been arrested for this and that. And, you know, it's sad.
Yeah, that's where we start to get an idea of the clients coming in, and then just taking this right back to the Blue Seahorse. That's when these people can come to us some are very, very broken.
Very.
Very broken. But I think through our process, the way we're doing things right now, that we're offer those skills, and we attempt, and I think we do a pretty good job of bringing them back to a reality. This is not okay. This is not the way this should have been.
And they may have never heard it before.
Right.
Put that way.
No.
Right.
Because like I said, we've seen people that you start talking to them and stuff, and they're, then the light
Just like
bulb
the
goes
gentleman that would hit their wives. It's not okay for you to hit her. And I think we might have even heard, well, my dad done this to my mom. That wasn't okay either. But you were a child. It wasn't your responsibility to understand that that was not okay. And now that you wasn't taught that that was okay at an earlier age, that's why you're here. That's why you're here.
Yeah.
To hopefully take something out and understand
Try to
that
show
you
'em
should
how
have
to
never
break
hit
that
her.
cycle, you know.
Right. Break it for your children. You don't want your children to see this. Usually I think they already have. You know, they've already seen
yeah.
dad hitting on mom
Yeah.
or dad hitting on his girlfriend or whatever. Right.
But I do think that affects them when we're doing the counseling too, is when you give them the realization that your kid's seen you do that. Because I know they think that they're not being caught. They know that, they think they're doing this, you know, behind the bedroom door. Or, you know, somewhere where the kids can't, the kids are sleeping. So they think they're doing it and the kids don't see. They don't realize the kids may be awake, the kids, you know, snuck out to, you know, see what's going on. And a lot of them, I just don't think it hits them until they're told, you know, how did that affect your kids?
Either that or they seen mom with a black eye the next day. They heard noise coming from the bedroom. They see black eyes, they see bruises. They start asking questions. So,
Yeah,
And
but
I-
as children, when your parents give you an answer, you most of the time
most
accept
of
it.
the time
Right,
accept
you
it.
know, like I
Mhm.
fell out of bed, or, you know,
Whatever.
yeah,
Be more careful, Mom. Don't fall out of bed.
yeah.
Children aren't rational enough and mature enough to look at, well, that doesn't sound right. They don't think like that.
Right.
They accept mom's and dad's explanation for what happened.
You know, one of the questions I wanted to ask the other day was, well, I'm sure when you was a kid, if that happened, you might have been awake. You might have, you know, when we were talking about the kids, how it
Right.
affected the kids. They need to think about when they were kids and how, if that happened in their home, which it probably did, how did it affect you? If they can remember, they may have blocked it out and didn't want to, didn't even want to think about it. I'm sure, a lot of kids would.
Yeah. Well, we talked about out there before we come on about a good example is the church thing. When we have clients sometimes, I know right now our office is in a church, so that's okay. But before, when it wasn't, they would get verbally abusive, cussing, carrying on, swearing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say, I just need to be some respect here. You need to stop doing that. Well, why? I'm paying you to counsel me, and I'll talk any way I want to. That's who I am. I said, okay, fine. Our next class will be in the church up the street. We're going to go up to the church. We're going to have our class there every week from now on. Why are you going to do that? Then I can't cuss. Aha.
There you go.
You know you can't cuss. Somewhere you learn that when you were a kid.
Yeah.
You have to be nice in church. You can't swear. I know some people still do, but you're not supposed to swear in church. But you can do it everywhere else. That's what I call environmental situational learning. They learned they can cuss other places, out in the farm, out in the field, anywhere else, in the
bar.
factory, but you don't cuss in church. And that concept goes across lines of everybody. You, me, things you can do as a young girl, you can do situationally in certain places and you can't do them in other places.
Right.
We all learn that, and yet we don't think about it. Because it is what we're trying to fix now is broken adults. And how do you repair them without them understanding why they're doing what they're doing?
Right.
And, we talk like everybody, because we counsel people who are broken. I mean, that's our job. So we get all the broken people. And it's not that everybody out there is broken, because they aren't. I know lots of nice people, and Christian or non-Christian, it doesn't matter. They're great people, they have morals and ethics, and they have integrity. They respect each other, they respect their family, they're good family people. They're wonderful. So there's a lot of great people out there. we get the broken people. That's what this conversation is about. It's boring to sit here and say, well, I go to Charlie's house and he helps his wife cook, and they sit at the table and they talk about themselves during the dinner table. That's not exciting. It's the way it should be.
Right.
Mhm.
So we get the bad stuff, and that's what we're here for. That's what our future is here, and that's what Blue Seahorse is going to keep running this show, hoping somebody watches out there, picks up on one thing we say, and maybe they'll change,
Make
a difference. They'll, oh, that's what it's all about. And our phone numbers are on there, so anybody who feels the need to call, please do. We'll talk. Phone consultations, as long as they're not too long, are
Right.
free. We don't charge like that, because our goal in Blue Seahorse, which is a nonprofit organization, is to help repair broken adults and hopefully stop the younger
Right.
kids
It's got to start somewhere.
from becoming broken. Now, I deal with 2 or 3 young families here in Kalamazoo and work with their children. And that's working out pretty good, because we get reality-based. We talk about the real stuff, not the daydreaming stuff, not the hypothetical stuff, the real stuff.
Mhm.
And the families like it, the kids like it, and we have a good time. And we grow and learn at the same time. So that's what we're still trying to do. And with your practices coming into the system, with your relationship with who you are and your recovery as a woman, as we talked on the way up here, you're going to be able to feel things and think things and say things differently as a woman in recovery than I can as a man in recovery. Sure, the basic concept's the same. We drank too much.
Right.
But things that you did, things that you felt, I couldn't feel.
Right.
I can't feel them because we're different. So it's important to have the diversity that we have. And Sherry, part of her past with her exes,
Mhm.
and that's a long, sad story.
Right.
And if you tell it right, we'll all sit here and cry, because it shouldn't have happened, doesn't need to happen. But you bring to our organization a huge wealth of experience in what should not happen and what should happen.
And when we did the victim impact,
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know what I was in for. But we sat down across from the guys, and as we were talking, they were sweating, wasn't they?
Yeah,
'Cause
they did.
Because they didn't know what we were going to say. They didn't know how we were, where they'd come across. And the one gentleman said, well, I know somebody that went through that. And he was like boo-hooing and handkerchiefs, And we didn't beat him that bad, but maybe we need to beat him worse than what we did. I think we were kind of nice. But they need to know how bad it really is. And we're going to have to work on that.
Yeah, we also have the difficult ones that simply they just don't listen to what you're saying. It's like they have their own little thing, their own little world going there, and nothing else is going to come in. Nothing else is going to come in. It's like they put this barrier, this shield up in front of them, and they want anything to come at you. But then again, going on even farther and moving on just a little bit, we are hoping here in the future to get the families, marriage and the family. We're hoping to get those in there. So if these problems are going on with these adults, we've got the children in the situation, and we can work on them as a group and hopefully stop some of these things that are happening and give these families
Man,
some
that'd be
skills
that'd be a good class.
to move forward. I think so. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I work with when I work with families is I have another saying that I try to bring into the family all the time, is for the parents to be firm, fair, and consistent. Be firm in your rules and regulations, and talk to each other about firmness of what's going to happen in the house and not allowed to happen. And it's got to be a set standard, and stick to it, and they got to be on the same page. Mom can't override dad, and dad can't override mom. fair, be fair about it to everybody. Because when you get into family dynamics, which, you know, I've got my master's degree in family therapy and mediation, you're getting yours. You learn about children, the older child, the middle child, the younger child. And the middle child is most of the time, a lot of times, I shouldn't say most of the time, but it might be most of the time, feels a non-entity. I'm not the oldest, and I'm not the baby. I'm it. I'm in the middle. I'm just whatever. The only time that that's different is if the oldest and youngest are the same sex and the middle one's a different sex. Then that middle one stands out. If the oldest one's a boy, and the oldest boy, the youngest boy, that's the baby, the middle one's a girl, then that's fine, because a girl is different, that stands out. But 3 boys or 3 girls, you got a problem with a middle one, huge, because they are going to seek an identity that they don't have. They're not the oldest. They can't be left in charge. They don't get responsibility. They're not the baby. They don't get the attention. They don't get all the taken care of. They're left hanging in the middle. And that's dramatic saying, I'm being dramatic saying that, but that's what really happens. And they feel that. The kids feel that.
And you hear a lot of people say, I was just a middle kid.
Yeah, I was just a middle kid.
Yeah. I was just there.
So when we talk about family dynamics and family therapy, we cover a lot of grounds. It's not only understanding your behaviors as adults impact all 3 of the kids, but it's called the family hierarchy. You know, I did an example one time with a parenting group that I ran where we had placards with just a piece of cardboard with a string on it, and everybody had a felt tip pen. Everybody had a piece of cardboard, and we put 2 of the wives and mothers in the middle of the room back to back on chairs. And everybody in the room, if it was mom, how many kids, it didn't matter who was there, how many in the room, didn't matter. You wrote the role you thought your mother played. It was taxi driver, mom, cook, dishwasher, whatever the role you thought your mother played, you wrote on that, only one, and you hung it on one of the mothers. And before we got through with everybody going around the room, you could hardly see the moms, covered in placards with all the different names people thought their mothers were. And before we got about 2/3 of the way done, half the room was crying because they didn't realize
All the things.
all the things moms do.
Yeah.
Then we did it with dads, and it was the same thing. You don't realize when you break it down and get creative, the roles that you play, the family hierarchy. And the oldest child is not only the oldest child, it could be the oldest boy, it could be the oldest girl. They all have a hierarchy in the family. And the one, as we talk about, continually gets sort of shuffled around is the middle one. Now, if there's 4, it don't matter, because the 2 middle ones will beat up the other 2 older ones and the younger one, and they'll find 4 or more is okay. 3, you need to pay attention to the middle child. Not that you want to spoil that middle child, but you need to pay attention to that. Family dynamics and family hierarchy is a huge problem today, especially, and I can't blame a lot of them because of the economy the way it is. The prices are just exorbitant now for fruits and vegetables and things you want to buy. I mean, you can't buy anything for under $100 anymore, whereas $10 used to buy you everything just about.
Yeah.
So both parents working, latchkey kids, they come home, there's nobody there, they got to do their homework unsupervised. Yeah, right, that's going to happen. It doesn't happen very often.
Right.
In some families it does. I'll pay that because there are some really disciplined children. But I think that's from the moms growing up, firm, fair, and consistent. You're consistent on your approach, you're firm on all your decisions, you're fair with all your choices, and you're consistent with everything.
Right.
If they can stick with those, we call it FFC, they can stick with that, and the family is usually a little bit easier to work as they get older. And the kids pick that up too.
The individuals that we have, you know, going back to getting the information from them, we usually get from that individual a family history, not just their history. We're
Right.
usually getting the family history.
Right.
And that's why I'm looking forward to and finding it real exciting when we can pull together and we can bring the family in there.
Yep.
Because right now we're just getting it from one person.
Right.
You know, we're not getting everybody's idea of what they think this unit is or should be or what they'd like to see it
Well,
as. So.
Mike was in on one of the clients that we have, and she's sitting in the background, and he's just talking, and she's like, no, you know, because his concept of what was going on in the house was just totally different.
Mhm.
And with them, too. I mean, he's one of that lives a fantasy.
Yeah.
And,
Well, his expectations of his role were totally different than hers.
right,
I mean, it was weird, and he didn't know she was shaking her head no all the time. He was saying, yeah.
Well,
She's
I know
shaking her
you
head
said
no.
something to him about that one day, and
Yeah.
it was like he didn't even hear what you were saying. He
No.
just went right on with whatever conversation he was having, and it's
Yeah.
like, you know, are you going to bring her in? I think you were asking, are you going to bring her in the next time? And he never would answer us, but it would be beneficial to him, if nobody else,
yeah.
to him, to
Yeah.
bring her in so that he could maybe hear it from her himself. Maybe he don't want to. Maybe he's afraid to.
And maybe she
I think
tries
he
to
is.
talk to him at home, and he's in his little world.
See,
You
that's
know,
what we have. A lot of these kids coming in, these adults, young adults coming in, they're scared.
Yeah.
They're scared at not only what has happened, but the reason why it happened, and what are they going to do if it continues to happen or happen again.
Yeah.
Well, the courts are really getting tired of domestic violence in the home because the courts are now seeing the children of their old clients, the old inmates that are there. I mean, it's horrible. I go to the jail as a chaplain on Wednesday nights, and sometimes you'll see father and son in the same cell or in the same jail, and brothers in the same jail.
And you know it's all behavior.
And it's all in the family. They say, oh, well, we got a bad family. You know, that's crap.
Yeah.
Well, if you know you have a bad family, why don't you do something to fix that family? Or at least work on some life skills.
Because they don't know how.
They don't know how.
They don't know how to
They
They
have
don't.
to get the help
learn
to ask
behavior. Yeah.
for it.
And a lot of them are macho men, and I don't like using that term, but they think they can fix everything, because men are fixers.
Mm-hmm.
We can fix it, so all I gotta do is not do that again. Well, they can't stop because that's their behavior.
Right.
That's what they do. And we deal with, you know, like I said, we deal with the broken people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I hate to say it,
And how many broken people out there that we never see?
oh, a lot.
That
They
never,
have not got caught. They have.
yeah,
Yeah.
they never get in the court system.
They
We only
haven't
get people in
snapped,
the court system.
I guess. They're breaking, but they haven't snapped.
Yeah.
They haven't got caught. So, let's see, we're just about gonna get wind this thing up for
Yeah.
this week, and, I think that we're probably gonna end up coming back and doing this once again, because I think this repairing broken adults, we could probably talk and talk.
I think it's an
and
ongoing
talk about
discussion.
it. It
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
and I think maybe we will be, at some point in the future, we'll return again, and we'll have the discussion once again.
Now, you're going to, well, we only got a couple seconds left here. You're going to come on soon because you're a cancer survivor.
Yes, I'm a cancer survivor.
And you're going
I'm-
to talk about cancer surviving.
Yes, I am.
All right, great. Looking
Yes, I
forward to
am.
that.
Thank you so much for visiting us tonight. We'll see you again soon. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.